Good morning. It's a pretty good morning as it is. Not too warm, a little humidity, very busy. I haven't been up too much, so I might ramble on a little bit. So, quick update, and we'll show you at the end of this video. We had a little chicken scare, and I had to do a little emergency healthcare on her yesterday, and she's doing better. So we'll have to show you her at the end of this video. And today, I'm gonna do something a little different. I've showed you a lot of things that we've done. For those that haven't really looked through these videos before, we kind of touched a few areas last year. Didn't do much just simply because of the time. For Jeannie and I, we've been married for a little over 6 months now, 7 months, and we're coming up on 7 months, 10th. And we've been together for a few years. But when we started this, and I wish I could find some of the pictures, but my old phone died, and we all know how reliable certain companies can be to transfer products. Not. I probably have them somewhere in an old computer, just haven't had time to fire it up, so maybe later. Anyway, and last year, part of the issue was combining 2 3-bedroom households into one, and that wasn't going. We did it, but took up a lot of time. So obviously, there was a lot of stuff that had to be done around here, and a lot of stuff we had to do if we wanted to do this. So today I want to kind of show you. It's going to be a garden tour, but a little bit of the property, but at the same time too, I want to focus on some mistakes we made. I don't look at them as failures. I try not to look at anything as failure. I look at it as an education. Because when you do something different and can honestly look why something isn't producing the results you want and change it for next year, just makes it better. So there's a lot of stuff we've experimented with this year that some didn't do well, and a lot of it was our own doing, whether out of ignorance or whatever. It really doesn't matter, because it will be better next year. So the first thing what I want to talk about is soil. So let's take a little walk. In our garden, we talked about having a good soil, and for right here, I got to show you something. There's this soil here was from a contractor. First bed we put together, very low. This soil is from Fleet Farm, where the cucumbers are. And this soil here is from Menards, where the hot peppers are, as well as that bed there. Now these 4 beds, these and the strawberry beds were kind of a mix. We'll kind of take a walk through here and show you quick. These were the mix that we've had going for a couple of years. To be honest, I can't tell you where we got a lot of this. There's a few mixed bags of here and there that we had. And these were more of the classic raised garden bed ones. Little potting soil, a little peat moss, and a little compost mix. But as you can see right here, this is our second crop of dill starting to come through already. So this is where we previously had the daikon radishes. And the results speak for themselves over here. We still got our old crop of dill growing right here. And if you look down here, you know, our eggplants are doing fine. So one thing I'd be really concerned, and it's just basically topsoil. We didn't do much else with it, but as you can tell the difference, not only in the quality of the plants, and don't get me wrong, we're growing fine in this soil. But the one thing all three of them have in common is the level. Probably about 4 inches under the soil is the original rocky soil under here. And plus side, it's well drained, and you don't see it, but the garden does actually slope at a very, very low gradient. So, and again, over by where the beets were and are, and we're gonna be digging them up and replanting something else quick, you know, for the year. And the garden here, where the melons and pumpkins are flourishing, this is where we dumped all our manure last year from the chickens. So obviously that speaks for itself, especially like right here, when we got a rogue tomato plant that's actually flowering. So that's something to look at right there. So the lessons that I consider not so much a failure, but something I could have done better at was more soil. Unfortunately, it's probably one of the most expensive parts of this right here. If you're going to go by the Square Foot Gardening Bible, which a lot of people do with raised gardens, you better get a second job or win the lottery. Because that, to me, to spend, if I had to guess, $100 on a 4x4 foot bed for 12 inches of soil, and another $40 to $60 if I'm lucky to find the raised bed, or $35-40 of the time it takes to build it. That is really unacceptable to me, and it's not going to happen. So the one thing next year we will be doing is basically putting at least 2 more inches of soil on all the beds, and good ones. And for that, I will say it would probably, if I had to guess right now, it would probably be a good $350 for the soil. But once it's there, the work's done. You know, we will have very little work to do, and we're actually going to try and find it on clearance or whatever this year and get as much of it done as possible. Not only to save money, but to save time. The herb garden here and all that, I'm going to flip it back over here. These right here, this is the original soil, and since it is right next to the wooded area, and there's a lot of trees as you can see around, we took a lot of roots out of here, but there was getting some of them roots that were 4 or 5 feet long and about 2 inches around. I'll tell you what, the soil's aerated now, so that's a good thing. So yeah, that's mistake number 1, the soil. Mistake number 2, I would say, would be where we planted things. And this is kind of a just good observation right here. One thing we were going to do, but we decided to keep, were all these trees. They do shade some of the garden, but at the same time, when you walk down here, from here all the way over there is almost like a different growing zone for shade-loving plants. And we thought we would have enough sun here and difference in soil. And these are actually going to be ripped up soon, within the next week. These are all okra that did not do well over here. We have the sunflowers here, started right here, that were basically divides the bed right here. So, and this right here is probably enough to plant a good 300 beets on this side of the bed. Our corn failed mostly for the first time, was bad seed the second time because the critters got to it, which will be mistake number 3 I'm going to talk about shortly. But these plants are still doing well, and hopefully get some time to get some other stuff out of it. As you can see, the squash is doing fantastic. And we did harvest some of these little yellow ones here. If you can see right down here. They're actually supposed to be patty pan squash, but apparently something cross-pollinated with them, which is okay. And again, getting back to the soil, we do have plenty of tomatoes on a lot of ours. These are aromas, for example. This is all one plant. And it is doing fine, but again, the plants do not look as healthy and vibrant as the other ones in there. So this is going to be a real thing. And even right here, some of the okra is doing good, but once you get in the shaded zone, not so good. And some of these are got a few blank areas here, and that's going to be on mistake number 3. And lost a lot of strawberries too. Mistake number 3, which is the fence. This fence right here we bought by the roll, and is good, but not good enough for the bunnies and chipmunks. And pretty much the bunnies in that get about as small as they get, so we ended up having to redo a roll of chicken wire down the bottom, which, you know, is good, but at the same time too, this is done for next year. Chipmunks, them little spawns of Satan themselves, we still got to rig up some hardware cloth if we want to do this next year. And as you can see, I'm in this raised bed, you know, strawberries do fine as far as growing. But when they're eaten up like that, not so good. Some of the herbs too seem to do pretty good in here. But we grew them too warm, which is okay because we have right here, they went to seed, which is okay because we can actually save the seed for later. Like this for the mustard plant, right here is actually the seed in this little pod here. And that is the same herb that you get in the stores. So even though we only got a limited amount because it's super hot summer, we'll be able to harvest all those seeds. As far as growing space, for number 4 is a little wasted one, because these right here, these pots with single bean plants, we've actually gotten about 1.5 pounds off of them over 2 weeks. So right there, that's worth it to add a few more planters. I really don't want to dig up any more beds, And we're going to have ample planters down by the deck. So next year we're going to look for some planters around here. And possibly around these aisles over here close to the main garden. But getting back to some of the plants for spacing, if you notice down here, the more shaded areas, they tend to do well. And these tomatoes over here tend to be a little bit not so good. So probably, most likely next year, we will be cutting the tomatoes off straight right about here and going straight back down. And they'll get their shade and their sun how they want. And some we only did 2 per row. There is room for 3. Do they get as big? Maybe not, but they pollinate a lot better and a lot more. There's been times, especially with the squash and cucumber here, which we just harvested yesterday. We ended up with about 50 pounds of produce total with everything. And about half of that weight was actually cucumbers and squash. But by doing it right here, I mean, this is fine right here. Brussels sprouts, I'm unsure. I'll eat them if they're cooked. Jeannie likes them. I'm not sure if the kids do. But again, the okra, not too well over here. Maybe because it was shaded out a little bit by the cucumbers, whatever. That doesn't matter. But it's wasted space. So for realistically right here, we should be able to put about 20 cucumber plants in here. And yeah, if this is the only problem you have, that they get out of control and go on to a nice dry cedar mulch where they're not going to rot, that's a pretty good problem to have. But yeah, even getting back here, if you look at the size of the plants over here and the healthiness of them, yeah, it does it much better. Another mistake, trying to separate the peppers too bad, and I understand cross-pollination, but realistically, we could have done a lot better putting these back here. And the only exception would be these. They're called the Pepper Fooled You. And they're basically a jalapeno with no heat whatsoever. So those would probably be a little separate. They seem to be doing fine here, but we should have spread them a little bit further away from the tomatoes. But even right here, if we do tomatoes here, and then maybe this half bed right here, that will probably increase to where, if I had to guess, close to 100 tomato plants we'll have, which will take care of all our canning needs. I do like what the squash is doing here. And the sunflowers are a neat plant, but, realistically, they're not a necessity. We did lose one in the windstorm last week, and, we haven't gotten around to getting the little plug out yet right here. We just basically bought these, there's 3 ghost pepper plants. One's even overshadowed right now by the squash. And, but they're going, and 3 more, or 4 more plants we rescued from Stein's, eggplant, or 3 more for eggplant, and 3 of the crookneck squash. We'll see how they do. The critters did eat this one, but as you can see, they are coming back, so maybe there's a little bit of time in there. If not, oh well, lesson learned. So again, for planting, and then right here where the okra didn't do too well over there, but if you come over here, this okra is about 3 feet already right here. So this same seed, same company. So probably over here in another couple weeks we'll start getting our first pods. We can do whatever with. These right here are more mild peppers, which we'll probably keep right here, or a little bit down, or a little bit further down or so. Kind of go to size. And we'll still have all this open right here. So we're actually have more plants than we have right now in this bed alone. Probably enough to fit all the tomatoes, all the beans, and probably with a lot more peppers. Right here, the beans did phenomenal this year. we're probably harvesting close to 2 to 3 pounds a week, easy. And we actually didn't get as many as we wanted. So we're going to really load this up next year. And usually for every little 2-inch gap right there, we'll be planting a seed on both sides. Just so if they germinate, they do. If they don't, oh well. But the ones who germinate, as you can see, are going all around. And the only ones that haven't produced yet, and I'm thinking because they're a Chinese variety, are these little bad boys right here. And you can tell right there, they're a little bit different breed of bean. And these are the yard-long beans, so there should be time, and hopefully it'll produce soon in that. I mean, beans grow pretty damn fast, so. But these are supposed to be harvested at 18 to 22 inches, and they get as long as 36 inches long. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see if that experiment worked or not. So right here we got some of our yellow beans, and you know, people always say it's like, don't get them too big, otherwise they'll taste like crap. Hey, these things are awesome. I like these almost better than green beans, as a matter of fact. But then again, most beans are good if you just saturate them in butter. So, one of the better successes we had are our hot peppers. And by the way, those peppers are mild. Those peppers not so mild. They're called basket of fires, and I'm thinking, yeah, right. Well, okay. Well, genius me. Had to take a little sample in the harvest yesterday, and yeah, trust me, they're hot. If I had to sit there and stop and spit it all about a little bit off at about 5 inches, or after 5 seconds, and I had to run down the house and fill my belly with milk and some bread, yeah, they're hot enough. Trust me. But going over here, we're finally starting to get some habaneros down here. And we're going to sneak back down here, and right down there, if you can see, we got the Trinidad and chocolate Trinidad scorpions growing. There's a little bit better view of them right there. Ugly as sin, the peppers, but they're hot. So, and even here, the okra's not doing as bad. It's not doing as good as over there where there's slightly more sun. But as you can see, there are pods started. So, the downfall of okra, it's super healthy, it's delicious, but we have some plants that are just doing awesome down there in containers, so we may just relinquish them back to the containers. This soil or bed here, this is the mystery here, because some things did grow but very slow, and we don't know why. It was the last bed and we really didn't plan this, so it could have been a lack of crap on our part. But we did hopefully get into where we can get some zucchini growing, so, and they finally bunched out. And mistake number 5, bird netting. It's a pain in the ass. You trip over it, wind will take it out, but you're not going to have a very good berry crop if you don't have with blueberries. Raspberries are a little bit different story, because doesn't seem like there's too many of them taking them, which is good. It's more for me, and these are awesomely delicious. Number 6, grapevines. This is the first year we've ever planted them. Patience and retraining on a daily basis if need. A couple we missed in that, a couple didn't do so good. But figuring out their exact environment, you can tell we got new leaves growing right here, and these ones are taking the vines perfect. So what you gotta do is right here is just kind of retrain them. This one's not quite tall enough to hit the top one yet, but it will be. They're They can be brittle, so whoa, there we go. Now, right there, that one caught on there, so let's hope it stays there, because if it does, it will go trellis around here, which we got 3 lines, about 25 feet this way, and about 25 feet over there, so we'll have to see how it does. Well, so it brings us to the main garden here. We got some Cushaw pumpkins growing here, which are technically a winter squash, but they are classified as a pumpkin, or named it. And you can eat them as far as they say on the internet. We've never grown these, but they seem to be doing well right here. We are going to see how they taste. They're a little pricey seed, but they do not take long to grow. So we'll have to see. Now this whole pumpkin area here, this is all from 4 or 5 wild pumpkin ones. And we do have some growing back there. A nice one started there. And little chippy hole there. And we got some big ones over here. Our cantaloupe's doing okay, except getting ravaged by a couple chipmunks, and so we're gonna have to take a little more care at that. Well, yeah, like right here, you can see bigger pumpkins on this. All these were all growing by themselves. Missed with the rototiller. The watermelons, I would have probably put them a little closer. They are growing now. We are getting some. Finish up with the pumpkins first, but yeah, like right here, there are pumpkins shooting out all over, and again, these are all wild plants. On the plus side, we can guide the vines a little bit better. Over here, you can see right here, we got 2 watermelons started there, and right down there. And another one on the side over here started outside the cage. And then a couple different varieties right here. There's another one where they seem to all interbreed. This was just 4 plants, 4 small ones. We got 2 different varieties right there. And another one starting there. So let's keep them coming there, and I would like to see a couple more start on here if possible. But time will tell. If not, like I said, it's live and learn. A lot of this stuff we've planted for the first time. So failure is not a bad thing if you learn from the mistakes. And another thing too, I'd like to point out that I'm spacing the plants. I'm having a real hard time with following everybody's gospel on there when I'm learning, because especially with the hot peppers and spicy peppers, they're hard to find plants as is, but when you find them, you like to take care of them. These things had to be babied right here on the end, the 2 Carolina Reaper plants. And you know, they're right up there to the Trinidad Scorpions, which are right here. But by planting them next to these, which are the Thai Dragons, right here, these right now are about waist high, and Trinidad Scorpions may be about belly high. It's 6 inches higher. So they're doing fine there. I would not change. As a matter of fact, I'd probably buy a few more and bunch them a little bit closer, and maybe get rid of the okra here, and we'd have a lot more. Just likewise with the basket of fires, that is basically, for the most part, a full-grown plant. They only reach about 12 to 15 inches high at max, and then they bunch out, so those easily should be able to go into containers and that. Maybe fit three to a yard-long container. And down here, we got our first habaneros growing here. Yeah, come on, can't find the camera. There we are. So Those took a little bit longer too in that, but they're getting there. And these were you didn't get a lot, maybe about 3 or 4 of them. Like this pepper right here will probably grow, is right now about 3 inches. That thing will probably be about 8 inches by next week. It's called, I don't know why it's called an Italian long hot. Because it's not, it's mild. It's kind of like consistency of serrano pepper with the taste of green pepper. But it is fantastic. So, that's the garden part of our tour this weekend. And let me close her up in that because I'm not a bistro for a bunch of freeloading chipmunks and rabbits. So over here, and this is a little project with all the family, is we stacked all the usable firewood over here. Main area right here. And this has got a little bit cleaned up. Now we still got to put the cages away and organize them a little bit better. But there is definite room to fit probably another 1.5 cords back here easily by the time we get done. And the rest of our scrap wood, again, this is 2 years in the making, and I ran the rototiller over. Still see the fumes from the fire from last night. It was about a 10-hour burn. But all those piles of garbage and everything, gone. Took the rototiller quick over here and got rid of a lot of stuff in that. So it's hopefully some land we can reclaim. My main focus was trying to level it out a little bit more too. And by the time everything's said and done, we'll most likely have this corner behind this pine tree here and behind the flower garden all taken care of. All this crap that's left over is going to be gone and weeds are going to be pulled. And it's a very rough bore. I took the tiller back here and just a nice, yeah, and I'm going to have to pay by cleaning that piece of work at before again. We took a nice little path right here with it just to mark off of where the flower garden is going to be. And some sacrifice is going to have to be made, but we want to keep this remain more of a wild area right here. We did a lot cleaning up, but as you can see right here, there are some between those two birch, some buckthorn trees, and those suck. No other nice way to say it. So anyway, going back here, we pulled the rototiller through, and we can go one of 2 ways. We can either kind of sit there and add an extension, but most likely we're looking at even kind of cutting it where it's not a perfect circle, and maybe cut it right about here and cut that triangle off. And the reason is, if you come up here, we will still be able to get the lawn tractor in here and keep it a little bit more manageable. 2 years ago, we could not even get a tractor up to that tree. So it's a small process right there. Slowly reclaiming the land. And moving around here. We're getting to the point you can trim some of these things off so we don't poke our eye out. And right here we can kind of get a little bit better, a little bit more, and have some more land and maybe a shaded area or whatever to plant some other things eventually. So anyway, we're nearing the end of the video, and our emergency surgery yesterday with one of the ladies, she's moving a little bit better. She is separated from the other ones. I know the other ones are getting a little PO'd, but hey, lay your eggs first and we'll trade places. So, here we are. There. She seems to be doing fine. Limited diet. Just a little bit of here and there. Get plenty of greens. Yeah, they're jealous, man. She got more greens. She got spoiled over this one. So she's doing fine and walking around. They said the comb should be red, so it's not turning pink, so that's a good sign right there. And we didn't do much with the old strawberry bed, but I'm not sure if we're going to keep it or repurpose the wood for something, make it better. I'm thinking container garden area next year for right here, because a lot of these other containers as well are going to be taken out and reused up in the garden, except for the bountiful harvest. We are planning to add a little bit more, add a slimmer rack, because we didn't have time to deal with the towers this year. And next year, probably add another one of these little collapsing bamboo things that the loofah gourd is growing on, because this thing is huge and we could have done a lot better. Maybe a few more thumbtacks around in some of the deck. Well, first of all, we'll end up repairing the deck in certain areas, and just gonna need it. But like right here, I managed to go up our dinner bell, so we can't even yell for dinner anymore right now without breaking a plant. But like right here, ooh, we got a little bit of growing right here. So we're trying to get this thing to grow on and connect right here, and we're just a little short. So hopefully when these connect, they'll come around here and grow in and take over that part of the trellis like this one is over here. I tried to move that yesterday with my big rear end, sat there and busted the chair, so it's still sitting in the chair, but that's about it. Now putting okra in container, this is the other thing, like right here. The pods have already started and been coming right here. That's a nice 5-inch pod right for harvesting. And they're in containers. So, I mean, that's something else to look at. Sometimes things actually do well. Okra is a southern plant, so it's hard to grow in here as it is. And this right here, this was a tomato plant sitting in that little 3-inch or little inch-by-inch thing that nobody wanted to plant or whatever. Instead of wasting, we planted and say, what the heck. And even here, with the lack of soil, which we don't know, or maybe there's too many plants, this right now, I'm actually dwarfed by every single tomato plant except one. This right up here, the top of that is 8 feet, and that's the top of the tomato plant. And this is about 6 inches taller. So we're pushing 7.5, 8 feet right here. And one thing is support. A little bit more different, but I like the bamboo look, number one. I ran out of them. But just a cable tied together to make one big support makes all the difference in the world in a storm. But getting back to this one, I love the amount of blossoms and everything right here. And and maybe it's taking longer because there's so many of them to get bigger cherry tomatoes. They're a good habit to it. Easy way to do this. Another thing with the bamboo things I've learned is easy hand pollination. Most of the cherry tomatoes are hand pollinated by vibration, so you just kind of go up here and gently press on there and vibrate the whole plant. You go right there. Realistically, it takes about a minute and a half to do 30 plants that way, 3 per container. The one things I did love were we got by the Amish were called sun sugars. They're a very sweet yellow tomato. And these things right here, these are the large cherry tomatoes. And let me see if I can get my hand. This right here, if you see my hand, this is 8 of them. So, I mean, they're a pretty decent size, so 2 inches round. Very juicy and very delicious. So, odds are, as far as cherry tomatoes, I probably will stick with these 3 varieties. I definitely will, if I can find sun sugars, we'll buy them for the taste. And definitely large cherries for the size. These are the Sweet 100, by the way, with all these. So I don't know if it was a growing season or if it was... I mean, the plant, we figured out the planters are pretty much superior growing environments to begin with last year. So that's not a question there. But how much does that have to do with the weather, and how much does it have to do with the plant itself? I know we've gotten plants from a few different places last year and this year. There was a few places we refused to get anything from. But part of the problem was, too, there was not a lot of options. So some of the stuff like the squash and pumpkins and watermelons, my wife grew from seed. You know, since I have a full-time job yet, and, you know, she's retired, but she did most of them work with the seed, and she did a fantastic job. So all the beans, some of the tomatoes, all the squash, all the peas, everything in the garden by the melons were all seeds, with the exception of about 3 plants. All the dill, you know, we each planted one side of that. So the beets, she did them by hand. She did a lot of that by hand and by seed. So I mean, very thankful for her, and she's awesome at doing it. So you know, but like I said, if I'm given the choice, I will go back to the Amish. If I have to go 2-3 trips in a month to get the best plants, I will, because they surely paid off. And one more thing about those Amish paste tomatoes, we actually got one that was ripe, and I will say this, that is the best tomato we've ever had. It's like the seeds are all on one side of the tomato. It's a thicker consistency than aroma, meaning it's almost solid across, and it is fantastic tasting. And we'll probably end up having to add some water to make some sauce with that. That's how thick it is. So that will be really interesting when canning season comes. Which leads to the final mistake. Is the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. So we're going to go in for this one. And we got this for our wedding. And after a little bit of hearing all the horror stories, thanks for nothing, people online, Pinterest, and so-called Facebook groups. And actually, a compliment to our friend Jenny, who gave us a comment that we'll be fine. We finally broke our cherries and used our pressure canner. And you can see our house is still alive, so we're doing okay. So it wasn't any big thing or anything, but, you know, hey, look at this. It beats the other experimental dilly beans, so we're going to move some of this fine cuisine all the way. So right there is our first time pressure canning ever. Woohoo, yippee, look at that, all sealed, all good, all perfect, and we have all our fingers back. So life is good. So anyway, that about concludes my journey of infinite wisdom today. So everybody have an awesome Sunday, and have a great day.